Hi everyone, welcome to my review of F.W. Murnau's Tabu in 1931, also known as Tabu, a story of the South Seas. So yes, this is actually the final film that was released by F.W. Murnau, and here it is here, master of cinema once again, spine number 61 I believe, yes. So yes, very interesting film here. It's the final one of course that was released, and it's kind of a collaboration more than just directed by him, Murnau. Robert Flaherty, I believe, was kind of this guy that's coming with him. It's kind of it's a weird film because it has been noted. I've seen a lot of reviews once I saw the film, and stuff. Discussions about this one because it was kind of approached in two different ways. And of course it's meant to kind of be a documentary, but docu-fiction more like. It's kind of a blend of this kind of meant to be authentic documentary in a way about these islanders. It's kind of this Bora Bora, it's set in, and basically these islanders, it shows them, especially in the first half, their kind of their traditions and them kind of going about and you experience this, and it's also at the same time certainly more in the second half, and it is actually split up into two chapters. This love story, very simply, of course they are related, and it doesn't kind of have a distinct split, but it does definitely feel like two different films at times, and I think it's a very interesting film. I definitely think if this has just been a Murnau film, with what he was trying to do, his traditional love stories in many ways, I think it would have been better. But yes, this is not something I expected to be a masterpiece, like Nosferatu. I have heard, it's one of his worst films, and it's not, talked about too much. It's not really that acclaimed too much. I think it is quite divisive actually. Some say it's just not a good film at all, and it's his final film, so you do get people kind of still flocking to it, because of that, but because it's definitely overall, even though it's his final film, and usually directors' final films people tend to check out more. I think it still is quite a film that's quite underseen. It's not really talked about too much. The rankings of his films put this quite near the bottom. So yes, of course, and he did make loads of films that they're not recovered. They're lost, kind of in time. But yes, this film Tabu, as I say, the island of Bora Bora, and these tribe members, these islanders, basically very early on, the chief, visits them, and basically he says that he gives them a message that they need to find a virgin successor, and of course Riri is the woman, the young woman that they choose. Basically that means she's not allowed to be touched by any other man, and to have relationships, and she's kind of worshipped, meant to be worshipped, of course, by the tribe. And yes, you've got this happening on early on, but you've also got this Matahi, who's this character who basically, in the first 10 minutes or so, of course you see that they love each other, and they do form a romance, and yes, basically very easy to kind of see what the rest of the film is going to be. But in many regards, not so much, because of course he's not allowed to kind of be with her. But of course the tribe and this kind of ritual say that she can't be, and she can't be touched by any other man. But he does love her, and she loves him. So of course you can kind of see where it goes. It's quite a short film, around 80 minutes or so. And of course, yeah, the rest of the film is them trying to be together. It's kind of this struggle, for love. It involves many different things, but most of the film is them on the run or just trying to be together. After this, and of course you have got kind of, as I say, two different chapters to the film. One was mostly on the island or around the island. The second half is them when they reach the shores, and they do try and kind of escape from the pursuers, and kind of just be together. It's more personal in that sense in the second chapter. I think, yeah, this film was definitely flawed. I think I didn't love the film, but it was very good because there is some genius stuff here, some wonderful moments. I think maybe consistently the first sort of 20 minutes or so was the best of the film. I think because it had kind of other characters as well that I kind of liked and I thought was very charming. You know, and of course this character of Matahi, I believe it is, he, you know, I think he interacts with other people, and it's more kind of as well, more of a kind of uplifting part of the film. You know, the second half is very, very dark. You could say quite depressing at times. You know, I think I did like the film. I didn't, you know, love it, of course. As I say, it did feel a bit uneven. But you know, the film definitely has some wonderful cinematography. I think it was very authentic, like he was trying to do, of course. But now, and Flaherty, I think you know, it does have some really great editing. You know, there's nothing to flaw really in the actual, you know, the way this film was shot. The use of music is wonderful. One of my favourite pieces of music. Of course, you know, it's also in the Tree of Life. Is in this film. That is an overwhelming moment. You know, in the film. Wonderful stuff. You know, it's kind of this epic, epic piece where they're all kind of they're going on the boats. You know, when the ship is coming in, of course, and it's just a moment you don't really know at first what's going on, but you kind of just commit to you know, the investment to this because it's just so wonderful. The sense of wonder, you know, in these scenes, something else. You know, and of course, I just love the use of music throughout the film. It's really beautiful. It's full of emotion, and I did straight away get behind the romance. It did take a couple of turns where I was slightly dissatisfied with the way that the narrative kept up, and it feels slightly disjointed at times. Definitely much so. I think maybe it is because, you know, it's two different visions in many ways and approaches, and of course, yeah, it is split into two different chapters. You know, it's kind of it's more of a, in the second half, a traditional Murnau kind of love story. You know, in the first half, it is something very different, but you know, it doesn't completely make the film you know, fail at all. It just, because it is kind of the linkage is there slightly. You know, of course, they do start off on this island, and of course, it's more about the islanders overall and their overall, you know, kind of traditions and stuff. So you know, you can say that, and then you can say that the kind of story does lead to them on the run. It's mainly just them, but you know, it does slightly as well at the same time feel a bit disjointed because of that. Just the way it is, I guess. But you know, I think definitely, you know, enjoyable film. You know, it's very well made. I think it's very good stuff. But I don't think it's great. It definitely has some great moments in there. You know, it's very moving. You know, when the two are together, you know, these characters of Riri and Matahi. It is beautiful at times. It's very, very spiritual. It's moving stuff. You know, very pure stuff here. I think Murnau, especially in Sunrise, we'll get to that when I rewatch it, of course, and review it. Haven't seen it for about a year. That's the first time last year that I watched it. Yes, that'll be getting kind of awards from me, personal awards. You know, we'll get to that. But this film is more, in the second half, it's more like that kind of stuff. You know, and yeah, I think the purity, you know, to this is definitely present. You know, it's nothing like Sunrise or, you know, even the love story in Nosferatu when it is here, but it's definitely very, very you know, wonderful moments in the film, and I think the romance, you know, at times was actually really, really compelling. I just felt, you know, real feeling behind this. You know, there's a lot of emotion to the film, and of course, yeah, I think it doesn't really have any intertitles in the film as well. Very unique what he does. It mainly shows the text. It's through letters and stuff exchanged through the characters. You know, there's not really any interruptions. He doesn't want to do this. He wants to make it more authentic. You know, Murnau, and yes, it does achieve that. I think it's definitely unique concepts, of course, in the film. You know, of course, and the way it's shot is definitely stand out. It's wonderful stuff. Cinematography is wonderful. It actually got an Oscar, I believe, for the cinematography. So yeah, definitely great cinematography. I agree with that, and the editing mostly is really, really wonderful. You know, I think there is a kind of a rawness to this film, and also a kind of fantastical feel. You know, it does. So in that sense, it does actually kind of blend the fantasy reality quite effectively. It's meant to be a documentary and a love story at times, and that's why I say, even though it does feel disjointed in some of the narrative, the actual overall, the kind of the mood and the atmosphere across the overall film, as you know, this kind of blend between fantasy and reality. It does definitely achieve that, but then it does fall to the narrative. That's why I'm not lowering the score too much because of that. But I just think the potential is the main thing that it could have reached. Is why I'd kind of definitely say this is not great, because it didn't quite reach the emotions and the overall satisfaction, or just realization really, in terms of the narrative and the overall story, to be considered great from me. I understand, of course, people love this film at times, but it's not really for me anything truly special. It's not a great film, but I would definitely recommend it. I think it is definitely spiritual at times. It's a very compelling love story, between these two characters who can't really, they want to be together, but of course they're torn between that and their duties and what they're expected from them. Of course, portrays this kind of these traditions of these kind of islanders, and that's used as a kind of the obstacles to their love, of course, and it is very compelling at times. It's very tense. You see the leader, the chief of the tribe. He is quite has quite a big role in the film. You could say he's the villain at times, but that's a weird thing. It's not really got any real villains in the film. It's a very, very odd film, but it's very, very unique. I'm drawn to the film, even afterwards. I am thinking about the film a couple of days ago now. I'm thinking just about some things that really stood out to me, and just overall very, it's a mythic film at times, but I think in terms of its narrative and its overall, how it compelled me and how it came together, some have praised the ending massively. I think, it was quite shocking, but and you could say in many regards quite poetic, but for me it was definitely the wrong choice for the ending. I don't think it should have ended like that. It was kind of like a bit cut off, and just yeah, it kind of annoyed me in a way, so yeah. But I think it's very good. It nears into the good mark because it has got quite a lot of flaws in the narrative and overall the overall kind of the things that don't quite allow it to reach the full potential, or the kind of kind of the separation the film has between the two chapters. It's not a complete vision, I don't feel personally, with all respect, of course, but I do think there is greatness in there. But I'd have to give it an 81%. Very good stuff here. It's not anything that's close to great really overall. It's more close to good. But I do think things like the cinematography and the overall unique and pure romance is something that really elevates it to at least very good. I think I was invested, but I don't think I was truly brought to tears or anything like that. And like this film could have done, and I don't think this has had quite enough consistency. It was a bit uneven. Once again, it was quite uneven. But yeah, I think definitely a film everyone should see. If you love Murnau, I can't say you will love this film. It's not really like his other works that I've seen. It's definitely invested in. I think it was very unique and touching. And yes, a really, really nice romance that I felt, quite a bit for. But again, just as I've said, the flaws that I say, it did bring the film down. Overall, it doesn't quite, reach its potential. And it is kind of a disjointed vision, in my opinion. But what is there? It's definitely very unique, very well made at times. Great cinematography, masterful cinematography. The editing, the use of music is wonderful, and yes, it's just a very, very a film full of feeling, and of course, yeah, just some very unique themes. It's a unique film, very good stuff here. Nothing I loved, but I think definitely did really like this one, at least. So yes, highly recommend it, of course. More Murnau reviews to come, of course, including my rewatch of Sunrise. Can't wait to review that. But yeah, of course, for me so far, Murnau, based on Nosferatu and Sunrise, one of the best directors of all time. This one is not to them standards, but definitely worth watching. I aim to see all the Murnaus, of course, that I can find. And yes, thanks for watching my review.